The trash is scattered across the kitchen floor. Again. Your dog is standing there looking at the mess. You feel your frustration building, and then you yell, "Bad dog! What did you do?" Your dog immediately drops low, ears back, tail tucked, eyes wide. You think they look guilty. You think they know what they did wrong. But here's what's actually happening inside their brain at that moment. And once you understand it, you'll never yell at your dog the same way again. The second you raise your voice, your dog's brain doesn't process your words. It processes threat. A 2013 study using MRI scans on dogs found that when humans yell, the dog's amygdala, the brain's fear center, lights up immediately. This is the same part of the brain that activates when a dog encounters a predator or a physical threat. Your dog isn't hearing, "You did something wrong." They're hearing danger sounds coming from the person they trust most. Their body floods with cortisol and adrenaline. Heart rate spikes, muscles tense. Blood flow redirects to prepare for fight or flight. Except they can't fight you. And they can't flee from you. You're their whole world, so they freeze, they submit. They show you what we interpret as guilt. But it's not guilt, it's fear. Pure, primal, physiological fear. Here's the part that breaks the whole concept of yelling as discipline. When a dog's brain is in fear mode, the learning center shuts down. The prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for processing cause and effect, making connections, learning new behaviors, it goes offline when the amygdala takes over. This is true for humans too. It's why you can't think clearly when you're terrified. So when you yell at your dog for chewing the couch, their brain isn't making the connection. "I chewed the couch, that was wrong, I shouldn't do that again." Their brain is making this connection. "My person is terrifying right now. I need to survive this moment." The behavior you're trying to stop, they're not even thinking about it. The trash, the shoes, the accident on the floor, that's not what's happening in their head. What's happening is, you've become unpredictable. And unpredictable is dangerous. One yelling incident doesn't permanently damage your dog, but repeated yelling does something insidious to their brain chemistry. A 2019 study from the University of Porto followed dogs in homes where yelling and punishment-based training were common. They found elevated baseline cortisol levels, meaning these dogs were living in a constant state of low-level stress. Even when nothing was happening, their brains had been rewired to expect threat. They were always on edge, always waiting for the next outburst. This leads to what researchers call learned helplessness. The dog stops trying to figure out what you want because nothing they do seems to prevent the yelling. So they shut down. They become anxious, withdrawn, or in some cases, reactive and aggressive. And here's the tragic part. Owners often interpret this as the dog being stubborn or spiteful, so they yell more. The cycle deepens. Dogs are incredibly smart. They can learn hundreds of words, read human facial expressions better than any other species, and detect emotions from scent alone. But they live entirely in the present moment. That trash they got into, if it happened more than 3 seconds ago, they don't connect your anger to that action. Not because they're dumb, because their brains don't work backward through time like ours do. So that guilty look you see, studies have proven it's just a response to your angry body language. They're reading you, not reflecting on their behavior. You could yell at your dog while pointing at trash they didn't even touch, and they'd give you the exact same submissive response. Because they're not reacting to what they did. They're reacting to what you're doing right now. Here's what happens in a dog's brain when you use positive reinforcement instead. When you reward a behavior you like, their brain releases dopamine, the feel-good learning chemical. Dopamine doesn't just make them happy. It literally strengthens the neural pathways associated with that behavior. They want to repeat it, not out of fear, but because it felt good, because it created connection instead of breaking it. A calm, consistent correction? That works too. Not yelling, not punishment, just a firm, neutral no and redirecting to what you want them to do instead. Their brain can process that. They can learn from that. Because here's the truth, dogs want to please you, they're wired for it. Thousands of years of evolution have built that into their DNA. You don't need to scare them into obedience. You just need to show them what success looks like. So what happens inside a dog's brain when you yell at them? Fear floods their system. Learning shuts down, connection breaks. And over time, trust erodes. They don't learn what you wanted to teach them. They just learn that you're sometimes scary, that the person who feeds them, who they sleep next to, who they'd protect with their life, can also be a source of terror. And that confusion, that heartbreak, it doesn't make them better behaved, it makes them anxious, stressed, uncertain. Your dog doesn't need you to be perfect, they don't need you to never get frustrated, but they need you to understand that their brain works differently than yours. That yelling doesn't teach, it just scares. The next time they do something that frustrates you, take a breath, remember what's happening in their head, and choose to teach instead of react. Because the dog looking up at you with those wide, fearful eyes, they're not trying to make you angry, they're just trying to understand what you want. And they can't do that when they're afraid. If this changed how you see your dog's behavior, drop a comment, and subscribe to IdeaSpark for more truth about how animals really think. Let's understand them better, together.